Call the meeting to order.
Tom Duster,
Here.
Scott Holwick,
Here.
Roger Lang,
Here.
Renee Davis is not here today, Dan Wolford,
Yes, ma'am.
Ken Houston,
Here.
Wes Lowry,
Here.
Kevin Bowden,
Here.
Hope Bartlett, here. Alan Turkline is not here, Nicole Halpin is joining us remotely, Joe Mahalski,
Here.
and Heather McIntyre is here. Councilmember Christ is with us today, and Councilmember Martin is not here.
All right.
But you do have a quorum.
Thank you. Very good. Very good. Let's go over last month's minutes. Any questions or concerns about last month's minutes?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve last month's minutes as submitted.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion's been made and approved. Thank you. Kevin, you ready for a water status report?
Sure. Flow of St. Rain this morning was 19 CFS. The 125-year historic average is approximately 17 CFS. The St. Rain is under a no-call condition. The column in South Platte is North Sterling Canal, and that's a priority date of 1922. Ralph Bryce Reservoir at Button Rock Preserve is at an elevation of 6389, which is approximately 13,900 acre feet in storage, or approximately 10.8 feet down from full. Union Reservoir is at an elevation of 25.8 feet, or 11,170 acre feet, and it's down approximately, I'm not sure if that's right. It's down about 4 feet. Basin reservoirs at the end of November were 68.5% full, which is about the same as it was last year. So,
Any
questions?
Kevin? Thanks, Kevin. Any public invited to be heard?
No, I do have one agenda revision. I'd like to add an item C under items from staff for Button Rock Forest Stewardship. Just a verbal presentation
Item C under where?
under 9C,
Okay.
And it's Button Rock.
Button Rock Forest Stewardship update.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Wes, you got a lot of stuff for us, I see today.
Yeah,
None and none?
no development activity for this month.
Anything else you'd like to tell us, or?
Not on development. I think there'll be some for you for January.
Okay, very good. All right. Cash in lieu. Wes, you gonna talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So I just wanted to let the board know that staff went to city council in their study session on the 10th of December and kind of gave them a little bit of history on cash in lieu, and we talked briefly about the parent water and the Fermi project and some of the other stuff that we've been discussing, the reasonable impact fees and so on and so forth. And from that conversation, the council said that they were generally in support of having that change once a year, which water board was thought was a good idea. They still believe the current methodology would be what was preferred. That's using the parent water and the Winnegat Fermi project. Ask us to come back to them in January, so January 14th, we'll go to present back to City Council that recommendation to increase the fee from the current $48,500 to the new fee of $59,625. We did want to talk with the board about the timing of the effective date of that. As you guys know, that when you talked about it in the past, talked about that becoming effective on January 1st. probably don't need 12 months lead time. In the future, the plan is that Water Board will get the information probably in June. Maybe if there's a need or the data suggests making a change, we would take that back to City Council in the fall, probably before budget cycle, so around September. And then it would become effective in January 1st, so that the development community would have time to respond to that. However, for this particular change, staff would suggest and throw out that it would become effective May 1st. We want to have a conversation on what the board thinks would be a appropriate date, enough time for the board, or for the development community to be able to react to that change. They already know it's probably coming, but that would be the action that would make it definite. So we're looking for a little clarity on what you guys think would be a appropriate date effective. So other than that,
Has the word gone out to these people about how much it's changing?
we've had,
So that's not a complete
yeah, for the
surprise
last
right now.
6 months, we've been preparing them for an increase and telling them that the data is suggesting it's 59,625. So when it becomes effective, it will not be a surprise, but we still want to follow the procedure of when council makes their action, of giving them that affirmative date that it's now set by resolution. This will be the new fee, and it will be effective on whatever date you decide.
Scott?
Is there any reason that it couldn't be earlier than May 1st, or is that kind of what staff suggests should be the earliest? In other words, what are we negotiating here, or is it just,
Well, I
because we
think,
clearly want it to be, I think, as early as we can get it in, because we've been talking about it for a good 10 months.
so the thought is keeping it relatively consistent to what they might expect. If we take it to city council, say, the first week of September, and it becomes effective January, you're talking a 3-month period.
Gotcha.
So if it goes to city council on January 10th, you can make it March, April, like May 10th, but we're trying to start at the first of a month. It just seemed to stand instead of some non-first of the month date. There's nothing special. It seemed like it could, in my opinion, it could be April 1st or May 1st seems very reasonable, and just leading towards May 1st, 2 weeks. What's gonna most likely happen for the development community that has deficits that are intending to use cash in lieu, whatever it is? They're gonna come in probably the week before and transfer or pay cash in lieu of water rights receipt. It's not gonna, so in that regard, I don't think it really matters in terms of the amount of monies that the city will receive, and to err towards giving them a couple extra weeks of what they would normally have.
Makes sense. I just want to make sure that there wasn't anything I was missing.
Tom?
This seems self-serving, but do you have any dates that are important to you all that would be helpful to have that money on the books in some way, shape, or form?
Not enough to, I don't think that would make any difference between what I would say would be the kind of the range,
Yeah.
April 1st, May 1st, whatever.
Dan, you got any comments?
Again, and I would look to you and, and the group to, what we would miss out on between January and May with the level of development that you're anticipating maybe the first of the year. Anything?
I think there's, like I said, there's certain, so as you all may recall, the last time there was the change in March of 2022, the week leading up to it, there was a huge influx of cash in lieu, and we expected that. What that did was satisfy a bunch of land deficit and allowed for then a bunch of development. And so it's kind of been taking that couple years to develop some of that land that's been satisfied. And so what's happened is there's now getting to where new developments are coming on that need to thus satisfy their deficits. Many developers have been acquiring their own non-historic water. When they do that, then it kind of becomes independent of cash in lieu. At that point, it doesn't really matter. But there are a few that want to, either out of simplicity or whatever, are going to want to do cash in lieu. And with that being said, we've been having conversations with them. And if it was gonna be effective February 1st, we'd probably just see more money in the end of January. If it was in April 1st, we'd see it in March. I don't think it's really gonna make any difference.
Anybody want to propose a date?
Do you require action, Wes?
Not really action, but just, I think more just a recommendation that we can forward to city council.
Dan?
I move that we go with staff's recommendation then.
I would second that.
Okay, all in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Yeah, let's make it happen in January next time.
That's our full intent.
We'll get there.
Yeah,
We're getting there.
we
Okay.
believe we will be there.
Yeah, I thought that was a pretty good, I attended the city council meeting and did a nice job, both of you, and seemed like everything that we were recommending was accepted.
Yes.
Unless you have any comments, Diane, that it wasn't?
That was a great presentation, well thought out. As I mentioned, you were answering questions as they were occurring to me, so, yeah. And I think most of the council felt like they had a clear understanding where you were going, so.
Good.
Good.
Thank you.
So that's like a slam dunk, we like those.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Water efficiency master plan update. Is that you, Hope?
That's me. So basically, I'm just coming before you all one last time to get any additional comments or questions before we go to council. And I'm just requesting your approval of the updated plan draft with any edits based on public review or comments. We'll incorporate the appropriate edits based on our public review period, which ends on January 6th, and then we're going to council on January 14th. So just requesting your approval of the plan to move forward to present to council.
Anybody have any comments about? I met with Ken and Hope a few weeks ago, and one thing that came up, and I thought I'd just throw it out to you guys, see what your thoughts are, but maybe Ken, you could explain. I've always wondered why some of our golf courses are watered with potable water and some are not. Maybe you can kind of give us a quick synopsis of
Yeah.
who's doing what and why.
Okay. Good, because that's a subject that always interested me too. We actually have 3 public golf courses, 4 courses in all. Private, Fox Hill Country Club. It's irrigated with raw water from the rough and ready ditch. The 3 public courses, of the 3, 2 of them, Twin Peaks on 9th Avenue and Ute Creek up in the northeast corner of town, are both irrigated with raw water. Twin Peaks is irrigated with the Denyon Taylor Mill Ditch, and the Ute Creek is irrigated with the rough and ready with some backup water from Pleasant Valley Reservoir when the rough and ready is out of priority. We have one golf course that is on treated water, which is Sunset Golf Course. Interestingly enough, it actually, when it was acquired, the property was acquired clear back in the 1920s. I think it was around the 20s, 22, something like that. We actually have Denyon Taylor Mill Ditch water was on that property, and I suspect at that time it was irrigated some with the Denyon Taylor Mill Ditch. Over the years, it became irrigated with treated water, and to this day is still irrigated with treated water. We do have it on a list of turf or irrigation conversion projects. It's a much more expensive project, a little more involved, so that we hope someday to be able to get there, and then we'll have all of our golf courses. We're really looking at the bigger parcels of property that are adjacent to ditches or have access to raw water. And so someday that'll happen, but yeah, it's the one that's still
What's some of the reasons why it couldn't happen sooner than later, or is there some capital costs associated with the change?
Pretty significant capital costs. The ultimate plan, there's two options. One is to pump directly out of the Denali and Taylor Mill ditch and irrigate, but that becomes pretty difficult without storage. The other option is to put a pump station at the Isaac Walton Pond, and then you would pump it up to, you'd pump whenever you wanted to irrigate. And that would be, make it a lot easier for irrigation, but a little bit bigger project because you have to go all the way up Sunset and around. There are two options. But it's mostly the cost of developing that system and staffing to actually do that as a project. It's kind of on the to-do list, but it hasn't risen all the way up. But certainly, with the, the water board advised us to look at that sooner than later. We should relook at that scheduling.
I was going to say that, I don't know if there's any good aerials, but I had a colleague who grew up proximate to the golf course, and it was all open cut back when he was growing up. And he's my age, so I know it was in the 60s. It was still open before they piped everything and reconfigured the routing of the water sources, because when he grew up, that was part of the golf course. It was open ditches through the golf course. On the
Through
side
the
of
golf course.
Yeah.
I would be interested in.
I would love to see an aerial. He just told me that, and I kept that in my memory because I've been in Old Town for a while. But
I spent a lot of money on golf balls. Our number 2 hole, perfect distance. So you're right. Dan, your thoughts?
So golf is an enterprise fund. Is that what's holding this back? It's anticipated this whole conversion will be funded through the golf fund?
It would be,
How's that working?
the plan is to fund it through water funds, since they have their water supply and it's coming from the treated water. So the conversion to raw water is more water related water conservation for us, utilizing the now Taylor Mill ditch is a lower ditch as opposed to our water supply coming up from the upper ditches. So it's fitting it in the overall water fund, which has a lot of competing interests, including a new water treatment plant and lots of water lines that need replaced because of their age. But that's really fitting that in priority.
Could the golf fund it earlier and be reimbursed?
If they wanted to, if they would,
If they want to.
Yeah, I should say.
I'm
Yes,
curious.
if they
If
would or
it's
could.
a higher priority for the city to do that, and they've got money available. I don't know if they do, they typically don't, but whether it would be the first time that we've borrowed for those funds to pay for our capital projects or something of that nature.
Based on what Hope's trying to do, increase the amount of water or stabilize it, to me it seems like a great opportunity to show that
It does.
we're really interested in going in that direction. So rather than just have it lay back and wonder about it, I'd like to, my preference would be put some attention to it and see where it goes. That's just how I feel about it anyway.
Cool. Well, luckily we have Joe here today, and he does.
What do you think, Joe?
Puts all of our CIP projects together, and so he's listening. And we'll certainly put that. We actually have it in the list of CIP projects to do, and we certainly would love the discussion about do we put that at a higher priority.
that'd be an interesting list. I don't think I've ever seen the CIP list of water projects. Right? Of what the city's priorities are on a time step basis.
Okay.
I don't think I've ever seen that.
I think it's confidential, Scott.
It's not.
It's on the website.
It's on the website.
Oh, is it?
It's that confidential.
It's just a joke.
I didn't know it was on the website. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know it was on the website.
It's listed as a 5-year CIP. The long term,
Yeah.
longer than 5 is not there. And that's really, we're kind of looking towards 20 years almost. We think out. That really falls into the category of the water master plans, which we do have those.
Yeah.
And I doubt the detail of the 20-year plans are in, that much details in the actual final one. We can check that. But yeah, that's a wonderful, that's a great presentation and a good thing to look at. So we certainly can do that, because that's a really good area for policy advice. Not, we feel the plans are very well thought out, but certainly policies such as prioritizing water conservation or water efficiency
Yeah,
efforts
yeah.
compared to projects is good. So
Well, I'd like to have somebody show, us just take it off the back shelf and put a little light on it and see where this thing goes a little bit.
Okay.
And Scott,
savings
as far as a list, it'd be interesting to see.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find it. I'm going to show it to you if I can find it.
Just use the search function, it'll probably be the easiest.
It's actually CIPs.
Yeah, but somebody's paying for that water.
Yes, exactly.
I'm assuming Water Resources is paying for the Gulf's water, right?
The water fund does, yes.
Yeah, so the sooner you did, obviously, raw water's cheaper to irrigate than, so.
Far cheaper, yeah.
Sooner the better.
Yeah.
Well, it is a 273-page document, and it is 23 through 27, so we're halfway through. So, right?
Yeah, I haven't looked at the.
It's findable. I found it.
Oh, shit.
Well, Ken, maybe down the road, you can kind
We
of
will.
give us a little snapshot of what we're asking
We'll
for,
even- We'll even put
I
it
just
on
think
the
it makes sense
water
to-
boards,
yeah.
our list of future
Yeah.
projects.
Yeah.
We'll put it on that to bring it back.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a real good idea.
Just checking in with you, Hope. Ken's been talking a lot. Are you doing all right?
Good. Good down
A
here.
little side joke here.
I know,
Okay.
Ken's
Maybe we should
stealing
wrap
my
up
thunder
this.
in this presentation.
Oh, yeah, well. Yeah. So, to your point, you're asking for us to move forward with it, or
Approve the, yes.
any other comments or concerns about her report?
I'm just kind of curious as to like how Longmont compares with other municipalities in terms of like this type of planning. Do you feel like our sustainability plan is, of course you're biased, I'm sure, but that's fine, better or equivalent or better than other municipalities around us?
So this is a state guideline that all municipalities who provide a certain amount of water have to do.
Yeah.
And there are guidelines for the plan. So we're meeting those. And our plan looks very similar to other entities like Fort Collins and Greeley.
I got the sense from earlier discussions though that we were we had a plan in place before the requirements were in place.
Yeah, we've had a conservation or efficiency plan since 1996.
Yeah.
So that's good. That's before the state mandated it. So yeah, we're doing well. We're along the right path. We'd be able to do more with more staff, more money, but that's okay.
We all.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I mean, there's some municipalities that have certainly created more aggressive regulations than Longmont has been able to do.
Mhm.
But there are also those that are developing a lot of property really quickly and in a position to be able to make that more meaningful,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
Well, yeah, I was just gonna say that, Denver Water, of course, moved to water conservation being their main focus, years ago, right? But that was out of kind of need, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure we have needs as well, water needs, but at the same time, we're pretty well off relative to our kind of,
Yeah.
peer cities or something. And so it's just commendable that we put enough, as much effort into it as we do, even in the face of really maybe not needing to as much as others.
Okay, so I guess what I'm hearing is we're satisfied with the report.
Great.
And we want you to move ahead with it,
Sounds good. Thank you.
unless there's anything else. Anything else you need, Hope?
No, that's all. Thanks.
Okay, all right, thanks. Okey-doke. Ken, Windy Gap?
Before I do that, let me, oh, no, okay. Sorry. Yeah, do you?
Yep.
I'll share a monthly update on Windy Gap that
Oh,
Northern Water gives to us.
get out of my way. Sorry, I'm trying to get into the previous.
There we go. Type.
All right. Hold down to the bottom. There we go. I think you'll have to scroll down and get it. It's touchy, huh?
That is really. There we go. So just a kind of a quick update. This is the interconnect between the piping for the Chimney Hollow project and the Carter Lake project. One of the major projects was to connect the projects together. That's how water will get back into the CBT system. It's now been completed, and one of the nice things about this project is we're going to keep saying things are completed. Major parts of this project are being completed. This interconnect should be wet tested this week, and so it should be hopefully done and complete. In fact, they should be now running water. While this work was going on, we couldn't run any water into Carter Lake, which it wasn't a concern, but Carter Lake was only about half full, so it was time to start running water in it. And this time of year it normally fills. So that part of the project is done. The saddle dam on the south side of the project, there's a saddle dam to keep the water from going on over in the Little Thompson Valley. That saddle dam is complete with just a little bit of minor toe drain work to finish. The last slab on the spillway was poured, so the spillway is essentially complete. One of the last major projects is to build the outlet tower in the actual reservoir. It couldn't be built until the inlet outlet tunnel and piping and all that was done. That's now done. There's a huge major slab that basically holds the whole outlet tower in place. It's done, and then now they're going vertical on the outlet tower. So that's the last major part of the project to do. They actually have started to cut staff a little bit on their workers because of the parts of the project that are getting complete. The archaeological dig on the south side of the reservoir is done. Everything's been put into archives. There isn't anything else out there. You always worry a little bit about archaeological finds on your reservoirs. They can tend to hold you up. And luckily all the archaeological sites, cultural sites, were not actually in either of the two dam footprints. So nothing really big other than, this used to be an area where they butchered bison, so they did find some, but that's all done. The best thing is we just went over 300 feet on the dam, so it's now the tallest dam on the east slope of Colorado. Blue Mesa on the west slope will still be taller, but it's really significant to hit that 300 foot. And so at the end of this year, we'll be a little bit ahead of schedule on the construction of the main dam. And hopefully we'll have reasonable weather, and if average weather occurs in January and February, which is typically a little bit drier around here, we should get another 16 lifts of asphalt, so that should finish up around about 320 feet. So we're getting really good even on that. Update on the valve house. Schedule on the valve house is still a little bit challenging because of the valves. You may recall we ordered the valves before the project even started. This project contract was let in 2019, and there was a 2-year period where we were in federal litigation, but we went ahead and ordered the valves pre-litigation because of the delivery time and the schedule time. By the time the valves got done and ready to ship, which was, it took about 3 years to get those, they, as you may recall, the manufacturer is in Germany, so a little bit of American manufacturing. Let's support American manufacturing because
They don't have bugs.
they don't have bugs.
If you have bugs, you're not sent back.
They literally held delivery up and told the contractor they had to pay them $1 million more, and before they would send the valves to us above what they were contracted at. And it was in Germany. There wasn't anything we could do about it. So that took a little while to get resolved. Finally got resolved by paying them a lot of money. But once that was resolved, we thought the valves would be coming. We did. They got on a ship. They ended up in Houston, Texas. Customs opened up the crates that the valves were in, found some German horned beetles, and I don't know, these are German beetles. I don't know if they were the same beetles that were on there, but found some beetles, so they shut the boxes up and sent the valves back to Germany. So we hope they'll get recrated and sent back, and that we'll have them by March. But it's really
Interesting.
never had that before on a project. The valve house itself is essentially done. I mean, it's built, and the valves would have been put in place and the building built around them, but now, I mean, there is a gantry crane, so when you have to do maintenance, you can, so now we'll have to use the gantry crane, in-house gantry crane to put the valves in, which makes it a little harder, but still doable. Quick update on the contingency amount, which is what you're always kind of worry about a little bit. There's $76 million contingency. Currently, 25% of that amount is uncommitted. It's around $20 million. That's pretty well, the best estimate is that all will be committed before the end of the project, because there's another number of change orders that are being currently negotiated and will occur as the project, but it's looking really good from a funding standpoint for completion of the project. And then in terms of scheduling, we're right here, just as we talked about, we're a couple lifts ahead on the embankment, so we're right here on the curve, 85% done with the project, so that's really good. It is expected, again, that in August it'll be completed, But the actual embankment should be completed late spring to real early summer. Just having conversations right now with the state engineer's office about when we can start filling a little bit of water in there. Basically, when we get done with the embankment, they're probably gonna let us put some water into it. So we may be putting water into that June, July even, but hopefully August at the latest, start putting a little bit of water in. Of course, we only go 1 foot a day, so you can't put a whole lot of water in there at the start. But we do expect to be putting, hopefully have some ribbon cutting and turning of a valve and putting a little bit of water in there by mid summer this year. So that part is good. And then the component project, the Colorado River Connectivity Channel, again, I mean, it's done. We've had kind of a grand opening on it, but this was got a handrail right up here that needs to be installed, a portable generator connection, and some protection to some of the hydraulic lines. This, if you can see here, is the operating stem that operates. This is the flood control gate. When the Colorado River gets really high, those will drop, gates will drop down, and a quote flood would go on through the reservoir and over the spillway of the reservoir. This is the normal operating gate where you would deliver water to the reservoir, the Windy Gap Reservoir for pumping. And then you can see right here, this is the main channel, the new connectivity channel. This is a training wall that goes clear across the valley there, which is a really good feature of this. I thought this was just a shot I hadn't seen before, so I wanted to put it up there too. It helps, you can understand a lot better how that system works by looking at it. So this is basically normally a uncontrolled overflow past the diversion structure, which is the connectivity channel of the Colorado River. Obviously, if this gate is opened up, this is all the same elevation, so you'll always get water going down the Colorado River. And this is only would drop down and allow the floods. So thought that was a great shot. Highway 40 is on the backside right up here. You can't see it, but it's right up here. You can actually see the structure on the side of Highway 40. So that's all there is. So we're getting excited. We want to see this project done, and it's going well right now. So you have to answer any questions. If not, that's kind of where we are here at the end of the year, and it's going well.
Questions? Yeah. Just one quick comment before it blows on. That valve going back to Germany, has that jeopardized any dates, or is that going to be a big deal waiting for it to come back?
If it truly gets back in March, it won't be a problem. That'll give us 3 months to get it installed. I mean, it's not as simple. I'm making it sound a lot simpler than it is. Bringing down the crane, drop it in place, and bolt it together.
Yeah.
It's nowhere near that simple, but what you would like to, what you will need to is once you put it in, you got to hook up all the control lines, and you got to test it, and then wet test it. So I don't think it will. Right now, we do not believe it'll hold up the schedule, but it's getting. Considering it was ordered in 2019, it's cutting it as close as I would like to see it cut. But yeah, I should not. We're hoping if we do get it in March.
Tom?
Yeah, I had a couple questions. So you mentioned the spillway, and I guess I hadn't thought about that. Where does the spillway go?
It goes. I don't really have any. The spillway comes off the dam, of course, is east-west. It goes around on the west side of the dam. It goes down the left groin, down to the base of the dam. It basically follows at the base of the dam clear to almost the right groin abutment, and then it goes down into Flatiron Reservoir.
That's what I figured.
And it's the natural drainage way, so it's where the water would have gone if the dam weren't there.
Yeah, that's what I kind of thought. I mean, presumably Flatiron has its own spillway that was thought about years ago, and it goes off into some
Yeah.
empty land somewhere.
There's a natural drainage way there that's about this wide.
Yeah.
And it's deep.
Right.
Because it's essentially dry
Yeah, it
wash.
doesn't need to be too much.
But there's a pretty decent spillway on Flatiron reservoirs as
Yeah.
well. In fact, you can see it when you drive by it.
Yeah, I think I remember that.
But yeah, it all goes down, then it goes about another mile to a mile and a half, hits Deer Valley, and Deer Valley's north-south, so Deer Valley will turn it and take it down to the Big Thompson River.
Yeah.
All of that there's really not a creek out there, it's just a small drainage way. And of course, even in like 100-year, 500-year storm, it's not gonna discharge any water. It's gonna take a 10,000-year storm to discharge water. And then only if it's full, Because basically, we're sitting on top of the hill, because
Yeah.
we're building a
Yeah, the water
containment dike on the south side. So. But we are on the east flank of Blue Mountain,
Yeah.
and that goes up about a couple miles up the side of the hill. So there's, there will be times when it drains.
And then regarding the hope to fill it this fall, I mean, all of that water is just wet year water that's going to be filling that reservoir. So is that contingent upon us having a wet year, or is it, or do they have some special first year filling kind of plan?
Well, in the negotiations on the construction of this reservoir, as well as the 1041 permit obtained from Grant County and agreements with the West Slope, there's two water. Obviously, Windy Gap pumped water. It's not likely that we'll still be in the pumping season, but if we can, June and July, there's a possibility we could literally pump some Windy Gap water in there. But we also can pre-position CBT water. And so basically as fast as the 1 foot per day will allow us, and that's not 300 days, because there are many times where you have to stop and wait for a couple weeks to a month to let it, see how the dam's responding. But however fast we want it to be filled, we can put pre-positioned CBT water, and basically you have to, the CBT system can't store any more than what it would without it. So if you put 10,000 acre feet of CBT water in there, Lake Granby has to be down 10,000 acre feet. And then we can pump Windy Gap water the next spring. So we'll be able to put a significant amount of water in there over the course of the next year to two. Theoretically, it's a 3-year fill period. But
Any questions for Ken? Okay, thanks, Ken.
thank you.
Engineering projects, Joe?
Yep, so Joe Mahalski, Engineering and Operations Administrator. So I was just wanting to give you some updates on some existing projects and then ones that we're gonna be tackling next year. Main one is Price Park Tank, substantially complete. I think you guys went out there at the last meeting. I wasn't able to be there, but hopefully you were able to take a look at that. At that point, the tank was in service, but the pump station had not been commissioned yet. We have commissioned the pump station now. So that project is substantially complete. Yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the site visit. I don't know if there's any questions with that project, but substantially complete. So I probably won't be talking about that one again in this meeting unless you guys have questions. But
One question, you got a ton of sand piled to the west of that. What is that for?
Yeah, so Parks and Rec would like additional parking in that area where the construction trailers used to be. So they're gonna be spreading that out as kind of a temporary parking area.
Oh, okay. Public parking?
Yeah, for the pool and, yeah, mainly for the
Yeah.
pool.
Okay, all right.
So the other project, the lower North St. Vrain pipelining project, where we had to have the North St. Vrain offline for 4 months during our peak demand in the summertime to get that work done. So that again was complete near the end of September, beginning of October. It's been operational for a few months now, no issues. Yeah, that was a good project. So again, that project was lining approximately 1,600 feet of 24-inch diameter pipeline on either side of Highway 36 on the south side of Highway 66. So again, that was a tough project just from the standpoint of taking one of our raw water services out of service during our peak demand in the summertime. And it was an interesting summer, as you all know, with the fire that was up there near the treatment facility and everything. But operations definitely came through, and we learned a lot about our raw water sources, how to operate them, and the system. So it was a good project to get complete. So again, I won't be talking about that one either unless you guys have questions, but those are a couple of really big projects that we were able to complete this year. So the three that we're still working on, in one of the meetings in the summertime, I was talking about the Nelson Flanders forebay. So again, that's the receiving pond for all the raw water before it goes into the treatment facility. It stores 30 million gallons of water, so it just kind of, it's a good redundancy for us. If anything were to happen with the raw water sources, it gives us time to react. We're in design right now for making repairs to that, hoping to actually do construction in the spring, summer, depending on how the design and permitting goes. We're gonna have to go through permitting with Boulder County on that, but right now the design consultant is thinking that we just have some weaknesses in the north embankment as far as water seeping into the bedrock. So really just putting some more clay liner on the north side of the existing forebay. And there seems to be some suitable material on the site. So that should hopefully save us some money, and it was good that we looked into that. So we're gonna still do some more geotechnical investigation, just to test that, to make sure that that's the right path forward. But we'll be working on that here, starting the beginning of the year as far as design. So again, in the summertime, we may be without our forebay, but because of last season when we had the forebay off, plant operations really did a good job, and we ran our forebay bypass. We have a pipeline that just goes direct from our blending structure where all the raw water sources come into the plant. So big project we're getting started on is Montgomery Tank. So Montgomery Tank is the one that's up near Lyons, near the treatment facility. It's an existing 6 million gallon steel tank built in the 1960s. So there's quite a bit of corrosion and some structural issues with it. It's at the end of its useful life, so it's in need of replacement. So we're looking at putting a new tank similar to the one that you saw at Price Park, 8 million gallons, about the same size, half buried, same as what you saw at Price Park, up on the Montgomery Farm parcel that we purchased a few years ago. Seems like we just want to construct a new tank just to the northeast of the existing tank. That allows us to keep the existing tank in service while we're constructing the new one, just to lessen the risk of the distribution system. It also gets us a little further back off of Highway 66 for security, but it keeps us close enough to the existing site so that we can utilize all the existing underground piping and everything that we're going to have to tie back into on that existing site. So that's a pretty big project. We're at about 30% design right now, going through the Boulder County permitting process on that. A 1041 permit process, so it's a stringent permitting process. Also, the Montgomery Farm parcel that we purchased has a historic designation. A lot of the farmhouse, the barn and everything, so we're just trying to stay as far away from that as possible, but we have to go through the Historic Preservation Advisory Board for approval of this. So we'll see how that project continues to move along.
Joe, is that the county board or is that the state board?
That's the county board.
Is
So
that a
that's-
replacement tank, or we're gonna end up with 2 tanks?
It's a replacement tank, so once we have the new one constructed, we will demolish the old tank that's on the corner there. So it'll kind of free up that space and everything and just fill in that site. a
Doesn't
little
have
bit.
any historic significance. like
So
the
we're
rest
looking
of
into that, because it was built in the 60s, so we'll see.
Well,
Figuring all this stuff out.
With that, I would say, knowing.
The
that
presumption.
We capped the price tag for historic purposes, whether this one is a demo or a keeper.
Yeah, we'll see. So we'll see as that project keeps going. Permitting's gonna be the hard part of that project. The engineering these days isn't the hard stuff anymore, it's the permitting, so. And then the last one I just wanted to mention was the Upper North St. Vrain pipeline. So there's, up near Button Rock, it's pretty tough to get to that pipeline. It's kind of on a cliff's edge. And we've had a couple of slope washouts over time, meaning the pipeline's exposed in a couple of spots. We've put some temporary measures in place to support it, but we need to do permanent access improvements to get to it, as well as permanent repairs structurally to shore up that failed support and everything for it on the side of the mountain there. So that'll be a big one here too this summer. We did put a pretty good contract into place. We're able to use a contractor that has experience with doing mountainous pipeline work. They do a lot of this sort of stuff for Boulder. So we're utilizing them along with our design consultant. So it was a pretty good project as far as at least hopefully how it's set up. Now again, it's into the permitting and what we actually have to do and the funding of it, the funding available and needed for that. But those are, it's a high priority to make sure we stabilize that pipeline since it's one of our major raw water sources. So those are just a few of the projects that I selected to talk about with some of the challenges and everything. But again, those are all the things that do compete with Sunset as far as, having to change that one to raw water. But it's something that, like Ken said, we'll look at some more too as we get into the updated master plan for where we're heading with some of these.
What year was that pipeline placed?
Ooh, the upper,
Yeah,
well, the original was.
Original is 1909 to 12. It was replaced in 1946.
To the one that goes down into the power plant, isn't it?
Yeah, from Longmont Reservoir to the power plant. It's 1940.
So
It's
long time
a
ago.
steel 1946 pipe, which, it's.
Says something about it for 6-year-old steel, right?
But,
Right.
it's still actually in pretty good shape.
Yeah, so we've had consultants look at it, right? We don't want to put too much money into a pipeline we're going to be replacing in the near future. And consultants are saying we should have 15 to 20 years or so in this pipeline, and whether we want to line it is a potential option. I know it was presented, we did do a study as far as a realignment and everything, so we'll be looking at all that again as part of this updated master plan and make some firm decisions on what the plan would be, short-term and long-term.
any questions for Joe? Thanks, Joe. Let's see, you got Button Rock something down there, what?
I did, yes. I'd like to give the board a quick verbal update on the Button Rock Forest Stewardship Plan. And I'd like to introduce Liz down here at the end of the table. She's our water resources forestry technician. Her primary duty or job is to move forward our water forest stewardship efforts at Button Rock Preserve. Has done some, because she's been able to focus on it over the last about year or so, done some amazing work up there. And want to let Liz kind of give you an update and appreciate all her efforts.
Hi everyone. So we actually got the slide presentation working. Did you want me to grab the
If you
map?
want to, you're welcome.
Just go ahead and sit right there. No, you're fine. You're fine. Just stand up.
You can move it wherever you want to. I have to give you. There you go.
so I'm sure you're familiar with Button Rock Preserve, is 7 miles west of Lyons, about 3,000 acres. This here is a map showing the wildfire risk in the area. So this cherry red color that is surrounding the reservoir is at high risk. Burn probability, very high probability we're seeing up there. And then this is expected fire intensity. That red color is showing the highest level of intensity. So that brings us basically to why we do what we do. Main thing is watershed protection, reducing that wildfire risk, and then also focusing on the ecological health in the area. We get a lot of our guidance from the Forest Stewardship Plan that was created in 2017. Just goes over our best management practices, our priority areas, and treatment methods as well for different spots. So this map is just showing all those units kind of broken up into priority and access, things like that. This map is then showing work that's been done starting in 2004. Treated just over 1,000 acres, and most of that has been done through grants. This is kind of recap of our year. We brought fire back onto the preserve through splash pile burning. This is a really key effort for us because the burning slash is the most cost-effective way to get rid of our smaller slash and material that we can't give away at firewood giveaways to the public. So we have various burn plans and permittings that are in place, and this past March we got a big enough snowstorm that allowed us to burn 100 piles on our property, and then just neighboring our boundary line with Boulder County on Hall Ranch, about 560 piles. This is a continuing effort. We're building more and more slash piles. A lot of areas are on the docket for this coming season to do some pile burning. And it just allows us to, again, get rid of that slash in areas where we can't get heavy machines to either chip the material or haul it away. As part of our North St. Vrain Watershed Protection Project, we utilize Longmont County Conservation Corps to help us with a lot of our work. Various fundings through Go Coast CYCA and Co-swap grants. And that was a roughly combination of 64 acres through the preserve. Our main focus was this purple line through our egress. We did a lot of thinning work there to just help us with egress, and then also the protection of Longmont Reservoir. We had to return back to our Cook Mountain project, unfortunately, just this ridge line here. In April, we saw a really strong wind event that blew over 100 larger diameter trees after we had already done the thinning work. So we spent some time doing some cleanup there, again utilizing Larimer County Conservation Corps. We worked with Boulder County Youth Corps to do some home hardening around the ranger stations and other buildings that we have around the ranger station. They also helped us with pruning up a lot of regen that we've been seeing in some areas. Currently going on is our Spillway Knoll project. It's about a 32-acre project. Sandwiched in between the dam and the spillway. And we hope to have that wrapped up in March. It's kind of been tricky with the weather. We're already seeing a lot of snow up there and soggy soils. So hopefully wrap that up soon. And that's just a map of what that looks like. Over here is the dam, and then the spillway's up here. Looking into 2025, We're gonna continue utilizing Lambert County Conservation Corps. We just got approved for another year of funding through GOCO CYCA grant. And then also co-swap, that's rollover from this past year, to really hit this area just above the Longmont Reservoir. These two units in the lime green, I want to say they amount to about 11 acres. We have those to really tie in some previous projects that we've done. And then we're waiting to hear back from our furworm capacity grant, and that is mainly to fund a full-time staff member as a forestry position, to hopefully increase the scale of our work, focus more on post-treatment restoration projects, monitoring, and then working on project partner relationships. So for wildfire suppression, we've had a variety, or a number of suppression activities going on, either on the preserve or just surrounding the boundary. 4 of us out of 5 are trained to do wildfire suppression, and we're constantly increasing our equipment such as pumps, more chainsaws, additional PPE, things like that. Some new fire skids. We just got a new chipper. Yeah, and then we're constantly working on that defensible space around our buildings. Looking ahead 2 to 5 years, increased acreage treated, finding various ways to remove and haul off our slash, securing more grants, and yeah, just working on additional training for wildfire suppression, emergency action plan. I'm not going to bore you with the numbers, but just an overview. Again, a little over 1,000 acres since 2004. 320 of those have been since 2021. Between 2004 and 2022, we had $600,000 in grants. And just in the last 2 years, we bumped that number up to 1.3 million in grants. So we are increasing in money. It's just now the capacity to be able to do more boots on the ground work.
Where do the grants come from, basically?
So a lot of them come from Colorado State Forest Service. There's a workforce development grant that supports a lot of the conservation corps.
Any county money come into it? Do we get money from Larimer County at all, or?
That's through the workforce development grants.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And then this is just a diagram showing where we log most of our time, and most of that is taken up through tree cutting, wood chipping, and office work to plan all of the stuff. And I think that is it. Yeah. Any questions?
I'll ask one actually. This is more so like about your position, I guess, rather than like about the activities that you're talking about here. Well, I was interested in like how some of these things are framed. So, what do you think distinguishes like your like water-focused, water forester position relative to just like a fire forester position or something?
Yeah. So I think it's an added challenge, of course, because you're not just going in there with heavy machinery. You don't want to disturb the soils. What does that do to the watershed? It increases sedimentation, things like that. I feel like you just have to look more broad picture of things instead of just, oh, I'm working these 20 acres. It has maybe less impact than it would with close proximity.
So are you have the expertise in like doing all of the activity, the forestry activities, but also protecting the watershed while those activities are being
Yeah.
completed. Yeah. So with a mind on that as
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
rather than just fire protection.
Right.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Item 10, Ken, any discussion you want, or anybody else about major project listing? Any questions or concerns about what is on the schedule? Okay.
I think we added one today, right?
We did.
Yeah. A review of the capital.
Item 11, any comments on that, Kim?
Those are just items that were included in the packet for y'all information.
Okay, on item 12, our cash and lieu quarterly months are there, so we'll address the first one in March. Any discussions on future water board agendas? Anybody?
Not really, we just wanted to put it on there, so if there are items, maybe we tend to put stuff on the agenda, but there's things that the water board needs to look at or think about or have on the agenda. We wanted to have this opportunity to let you add any items you're interested in having, so.
I have a question. I'm seeking information, actually. Oftentimes, the council has projects that come to us that ask for water fee waivers. And there's like an example of a recent one. This is already passed, so it's not, immediate that I need some information. But I would like to understand what the impact is of waiving water fees. If there's no free water in the world, where does that get passed on? Is it going into the cash in lieu? Is it, and this isn't something you have to answer right now, but if you wanted to contemplate it, I have an example here, and I forwarded the electronic copy to Heather if she'd want to send it out to you to look at. I just, for my knowledge, would like to know who eventually pays for this when we waive these fees. Where does the money come from? Since there is only so much water in our coffers. Are we spending our reserves? I mean, these are just all things that are going through my head, and I don't know what the answer is.
Sure. And if I can maybe, it's an area, there's not one single answer, so you probably don't, I know that's not helpful, but there's a number of different fees, such as a tap fee, which you pay, basically pays for the system that you're buying into. When you get a tap, you get a little capacity in a water plant and the treatment lines. So a tap fee is a little different than a cash and lieu fee, which is water rights. That's all of that's a pretty big subject area. We do occasionally we've done, I would say maybe once a year, Wes, probably, an update to water board on our fees and our fee structure and all that. And so we'd be more than happy to bring one of those back again, and have, we usually invite our strategic integration group in, the finance folks that actually do many of those calculations, and we'd be more than happy to do that. But yes, it's for each fee, each different type of fee, it impacts the bottom line a different way. And so we'd be happy to bring that information back if the board's interested in.
This example that I have, it has a sewer system development fee, a water system development fee, a windy gap surcharge, an irrigation tap fee, and an irrigation windy gap surcharge, as well as the ECIF residential fees. So I thought, well, that's pretty comprehensive. Those must
It is.
all impact something different, and there's numbers associated with this particular project, but I'm just interested, how does it come back around? You know, I know the city has a reserve, but that reserve has got to have a finite amount to it too, so how do we know where we are with that?
Okay.
How do I know where this is going, is the question, because I would like to understand it better.
Okay, yeah. I'd like not to, it's probably a pretty tough question to answer, you know,
Yeah.
off the cuff without pulling the information together for you. But we'd be happy to do that, yeah, and bring that in. It's always good for all of us to re-review those things.
There isn't anything pending that I know of, this just had come up and I don't really know much about this, so I'll ask them when I'm here.
That's a great question. No, that's a great.
What was the rationale for dropping the fees on this particular project? The low-income housing or something like that?
For those fees you voted on as council, is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you don't understand, we surely don't understand too along it, so if you can enlighten us, can it, you know, I think it'd be interesting to understand that.
Yeah. Enlighten us.
Okay, we'll do that, yeah.
It's all over
Like
again.
where we were a couple months ago, we want to understand more about water rates and how that all, you know, so it's, I mean, it's important stuff.
It seemed like in the past when this has come up, the answer was that y'all just kind of absorbed that in some way, that there wasn't necessarily a formal fund that has a certain amount of money in it, but rather just that it happens so randomly and haphazardly and infrequently, really, that it just kind of gets absorbed.
Yeah, it depends, and some parts of it even aren't paid done by water, and through other funding mechanisms. So it's almost too big to generally describe, but we'll get that.
You could even use maybe a case study approach or something whereby you take a project like this and say, okay, well, where did that money come from? You know, so rather than talking kind of in the ether, we get like a specific example. You know, how it would be interesting.
Anything else?
Thank you.
As long as, I was gonna ask if you had anything else to ask.
Well, just appreciate you letting me sit in on these meetings and learn so much about water.
You know?
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
You're our conduit to the city council, so it's important that you understand and they understand, so
Yeah.
appreciate your presence, really.
Yeah, it was nice when you came to do the presentation. I understood what you were presenting because I've been sitting here and listening to how you come up with your calculations, so that was helpful.
Good. Okay,
Roger.
yes.
Speaking of fees, I think last month we talked about being more involved in that. And I think
Water rate fees, you mean?
water rate fees, you know, a variety of things.
Yeah.
And it really came down to modifying the charter that would allow us to do just that. So is that something the board is interested as a topic of discussion with staff to look at modifying the charter to allow us to participate at that level?
I would guess yes.
Yeah, I thought
Now,
that
how
question.
how that
So just
mechanism
looking at
works.
the calendar and the schedule and where that might fit, I don't know.
Yeah.
And maybe we want to hear what Ken has to say about it before we jump into that, because it might be more than anybody wants to hear.
Yeah, no, we did hear that, and we believe we need to do that. You know, we've looked a little bit, we still need to work a little bit more with our legal department, because I think there's a lot of things that can fit within the confines of charge of water board. We just need to define it
Yeah.
in our processes, and certainly can do that. And then if there is, we haven't gotten yet to where we feel like we need to do a charter, a code change. or I think a lot of the areas we're talking about,
Far
they
extreme.
fit in there, because a lot of these areas, Water Board in the past has reviewed, and then kind of stopped reviewing them, and we certainly can go back on a lot of them, so we have to, I don't even know if we have it on the list yet, do we, Wes?
We just talked about water rates and fee updates in June.
Okay, but we were gonna look at the
Yeah,
topics
just
list
gotta
with
figure out,
the
yeah.
legal department, so we'll continue to work on that.
Okay. I think we've covered everything on the agenda. Any other comments from anybody before we close the meeting?
Just a comment that our next meeting is January 27th, which is the fourth Monday instead of the third Monday because of the holiday, so.
Oh, okay. Well, I'd like to say thank you for all your work this year. I think we had a good year. Everybody contributed, and I appreciate it, and hope everybody has a happy holiday. We'll see you next year, so thank you.
Next year in 10 days, or whatever.
All right, meeting's adjourned.